Hey, we're live, everybody. Do you want to get toned, but you're avoiding lifting weights because you don't want to get too muscular? Are you focused on getting to a certain size or number on the scale instead of focusing on your quality of life? Do you have a hard time remembering the last time you got a full 8 hours of sleep? Perhaps you're struggling to change stubborn behaviors so that you can reach your health goals. Well, guess what? This episode is for you. Stick around and learn how to shift your mindset for success and change the behaviors that really matter so that you can reach your health goals and sustain that high quality of long life. So, welcome to Shifting Your Mindset for Keto Success. I've got a guest today, Coach Bronson. This is episode 60 of Keto Chat for Women. I'm your host, everyone, Carol Freeman. I have a master's in nutrition and clinical health psychology. I'm also a certified clinical hypnotherapist, and I'm a board certified ketogenic nutrition specialist. That's a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot. I love it.
I've got the 6 figures in student loans to prove it, too. So I am a coach near you that specializes in helping women 40 plus follow a keto diet for sustainable weight loss. And the medical disclaimer we got to plug in. This show is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical advice nor intended to diagnose, prevent, treat, or cure any condition whatsoever. If you, or maybe we're actually trying to treat your doldrums today. So maybe we're going to give you a little bit of entertainment. So if you have any questions or concerns related to your specific medical condition, please contact your own qualified personal healthcare professional. After saying all that, now we get to welcome our guest today, Coach Bronson. We're going to have fun getting to know each other together. He reached out to me on Instagram and I did a little bit of digging and I was like, this guy, I checked with a couple of people too that I know and trust.
Oh, now I want to know who you talk to.
Yeah. And I was like, they're like, thumbs up. So, okay. So, cause I don't just have anybody on the show here. I want to make sure that they're going to share quality information with you all. I care about my listeners. I care about you all. So this is Coach Bronson. Let me read the bio that he sent me because Coach Bronson has been guiding and training people in health and fitness for over 10 years. He started CrossFit around his 40th birthday and quickly fell in love with the variety, community, coaching, and results. It didn't take long for him to realize that learning more about fitness and becoming a coach was the next path to his life was taking. Basically, I don't want to bore you all with all that. I mean, not that it's boring, but I want to basically, he's spoke at various keto conferences. Salt Lake, they now call it used to be called Low Carb Salt Lake. Right now it's Keto Salt Lake.
It was Keto Salt Lake last time. Yeah.
Okay. KetoCon and various other ones too. So anyways, help me welcome everyone. Coach Bronson. Let's get the clappy hands going here.
Woohoo. Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Rah.
This is an interactive show too. So if you're watching, I see we've got some live viewers. So go ahead and just give us a comment. Tell us where you're watching from. Join the show. And Coach, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, I saw you did a video with somebody. Was that the one you did? Who you did a video with somebody? I was like, oh my God, I got to talk to this lady. This is great.
Oh.
Was that Maria?
Maria Emmerich or?
Yeah. You did a video with somebody, and I was like, I need to reach out and have a talk with this lady. I know you had Kim Howardson on a while ago. I saw your video with Kim, and Kim and I are friends. There are a couple other people, so I was like, okay, we got to do something.
Yeah. It's been a while. I know from Kim from the conferences, and we had a little triad of best friends. We called ourselves the Keto Siblings.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We hang out at conferences. So yeah, love her. And Maria's awesome. I don't think I've ever had Maria on actually. But yeah, and I know all the keto space people. But you're a newer one to me. I've been doing this. I started going to conferences. The very first Low Carb USA in San Diego. I was
nice. Okay.
And it's interesting. I've shared this with Pam and Doug after the fact, but it was like their logo at that time. I assumed they'd been around for like 20 years because the logo looked like it was that old. Yes. Again, I've told them that. So
it looked like it was that old.
Yeah. So I was like, this is this place. I got to plug into this but anyways, I've been, the conference scene since, but I haven't gone to any conferences since the pandemic actually. So my last conference that I attended was Low Carb Denver, March of 2020.
Wow, that's crazy. And I've done all of mine since then. So that's where we missed each other. Yeah.
That's why I don't know you yet. So, and I remember being there and it was crazy because it was like the world was shutting down at that time. And I literally didn't know if they were going to let me get back on a plane to fly back to Seattle.
Wow.
And it was the time they were announcing everything was shutting down there locally. And we were talking to some of the local restaurant owners and things. And they were just like, I don't have anyone to think, you know, we got to shut down our doors tomorrow. And I have no idea how I'm going to pay my staff or, you know, live or anything like that. So anyways, that's why we haven't overlapped or met with all that. So, well, let's just start with yours. So how did you go from CrossFit to getting into the low carb keto space? And I know you personally follow more carnivore too. So do you want to walk us through your own journey?
Real quick, without taking the whole time that we have, basically, you know, I was in my late 30s. I found fitness first. Once I realized I needed to make a change, my inclination was to go towards fitness. I'd been exposed to fitness. I was more comfortable with fitness. I didn't really have any understanding of nutrition that much. It was more, I knew there were some things I needed to stop doing, right? I needed to stop eating, you know, baskets of French fries every day. I needed to stop eating donuts for breakfast in the morning and, you know, all of these different things, and pizza, a whole pizza for dinner every night, stuff like that. But in general, it was easier for me to say, I'll just start going to the gym. So I went to the gym, started doing some stuff, went on a cruise, met a guy who owned a CrossFit gym. He introduced me to CrossFit. I came back from the cruise, found a gym, started going, and absolutely fell in love with it. Fast forward a couple of years, I had gotten certified as a CrossFit coach, ended up opening my own gym. So I was a gym owner. We're now, you know, I'm in my mid 40s. I've been doing CrossFit for 5 or 6 years. And I had lost a bunch of weight initially, was able to do a ton of things physically, like my physical ability improved dramatically. But then I started realizing that I was still having health issues. I had IBS, I had urgent bowels, was my big thing. And I started putting on more weight again. So I lost about 40, 50 pounds. And then I started putting in 40, 50 pounds again. I'm like, wait a second, I'm this CrossFitter guy. I'm supposed to be helping these people get in shape and be the example. And here I am going the opposite direction of what I think I should be doing. What is going on? And it was recommended to me to try Carnivore in 2018, mostly for my IBS, urgent bowels, and the issues that I was having with my health. And the other things that happened post going Carnivore, as far as losing body fat, improving performance, injuries that I had, chronic pain and injuries that I was dealing with, they all went away. A bunch of things happened on top of my IBS and urgent bowels also going away that really kind of made me go, what is going on? How important is it that the food that you eat can have such an impact on my life? Like, I just didn't understand how that could be. So it really got me interested in digging into the hows and the whys and the mechanisms and all those different things. And it's been a rabbit hole that's 5 years going, and I'm not any closer to climbing out of it yet.
Oh, it is. The more you learn, the more you, what law is that the more you learn, the more you feel like you don't know?
You don't know? Yeah, absolutely.
That's, oh, right. So you just jumped right into Carnivore then, and then back? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was pretty much Whole30 paleo-ish beforehand. So I'd already gone through some evolution on the nutrition side. So after I did CrossFit for a while, I was introduced to, you know, going more whole foods. So I went more whole foods, got a lot of processed foods out. Wasn't reducing carbs, wasn't reducing anything necessarily, other than if it didn't come in I only ate it if it was grown or killed, right? That was pretty much my bounds, except for alcohol. I was a 3 or 4 glass of wine, a glass of bourbon a week guy. And I did a 21-day detox where I didn't drink alcohol for 3 weeks, and I lost 10 pounds of body fat. Not total weight, just body fat. My muscle mass stayed the same, everything else. I literally lost 10 pounds of fat in 3 weeks just by stopping alcohol. And that was what really got me going, okay, wait a second, what is this all about? And it was shortly after that I was introduced to Carnivore. And then between all of those things happening kind of in that same period, I was like, there's something with nutrition. I need to understand all of this. And, you know, we were talking beforehand, you said keto kind of was the last piece of the puzzle for you. It was the last piece of the puzzle for me. You know, there were a lot of things about how I had tried to do nutrition things in the past that just didn't make sense to me. It wasn't working. It was hard. It was more about my willpower than it was, this is just how things should naturally work. And keto, carnivore, understanding how these things work started making me feel like I was actually doing something to support my body's natural function and not trying to force something because society said that's how it's supposed to be done.
Well, and a lot of people, look at like, well, I could never do that. And I've had that thought myself, like, I don't know if I could go 100% carnivore. But then I hear the stories of people like give themselves a challenge and they do it for 30 days and they're like, wow, I just feel so much better than I ever have. I'm not even looking back. Like, I don't even feel deprived. Is that kind of what the experience was for you with getting rid of
honestly, for me, like, I love eating meat. I only ate vegetables because, I was told I had to, like I never missed them. And I'm also very pragmatic about certain things. And I realized that anything I liked about vegetables had nothing to do with the vegetables. It had to do with what I did to the vegetables, right? It was the oil, it was the fat and the seasonings and the salt that I put on the vegetables that I liked.
Breading. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't not even the breading. Like Brussels, I would love Brussels sprouts. I get, broiled Brussels sprouts, but it was the olive oil and the seasonings that I liked, not the Brussels sprouts. You know, and salads, it's about the salad dressing, all of these different things. It's not like I'm going to go eat a bunch of romaine lettuce and carrots by themselves in a bowl. Give me the cheese and the dressing and the other stuff on top of it, then I can enjoy a salad. Right. So I realized it really wasn't about the veggies. So I didn't feel like I was missing anything. I got to eat more. So that was the other aspect of making that change is I didn't have to worry about overeating because everything I was eating was supporting my bodily function, my metabolic function. And it took a whole bunch of stress about having to, oh my God, I don't want to do this, don't want to do that, and freaking out, especially in that initial transition. For me, the initial transition was literally just, what is it like to just eat meat and how long can I do that? It was months into that before I started saying, okay, let me look at my macros. Let me look at how much I'm eating of this or that and what I need and what works and what doesn't work. And how does this affect my performance? How does this affect my body composition and things like that? But my initial transition into carnivore was literally just eat whatever I had and buy more. It was so easy.
Yeah. And, we talked before we came on air that, my training was about, don't restrict eating. That's what causes people to obsess about food. But my experience of this, and people who do carnivore have reported that like simplicity just takes away all of that. And then when you're feeding your body properly what it needs, a lot of times, a lot of those cravings and food obsession actually go away. And so with the rules and the parameters, and I don't know if it's Rob Wolf that said this or Peter Attia, because I've read everything they've ever put out, that they talk about how you need some guidelines. Allowing all the foods that are available on this planet is where the food obsession comes from, and the cravings and the overeating.
Everything in moderation.
Yeah, you can't. It's not designed for that. So having
rules and guidelines are what enable freedom. Right? If we look at, what would the world be like if we didn't have roads and traffic laws and everyone was just driving all over the place willy-nilly just because that's what they wanted to do and they wanted to get there however they wanted to get there, right? Well, we are able to travel from one end of the country to the other any way that we want to, as long as we follow the rules of the road and we stay on the path. And that is how it is in our lives. Having self-imposed restriction and guidelines and a direction that you want to go and things that you're not willing to give up and things that you are willing to give up in order to move forward is how you make progress. If you have everything that's available, then you're going to stay in the same place because you're not going to move in any one direction. For every step forward, you're going to move a step back to go do something else. So you've got to have rules and guidelines in order to help you move forward.
And you asked what it looks like if you had no roads. Well, that literally the Wild West in the US in the 1600s.
Yep.
So we're living the Wild West of our eating habits here in the US and great part of the world now with all the food moving around the world. But with the Wild West of their eating habits. I my last episode, I had somebody request the topic of, well, how can I eat whatever I want and still lose weight? And so part of it is having some rules and guidelines of what you eat. I think I covered like 6 or 8 or 9 different things that trigger us to overeat. But basically set up some rules for yourself of things you eat and don't eat. And removes the decision mealtime, right?
Yep.
Am I going to have cake or am I not going to have cake? No, I don't eat cake.
Yeah, exactly. I don't eat cake. I don't eat it. So it's not a choice where I have to figure out, am I going to do it today? No, I'm never going to do it. It's just not something that I do. I use the analogy a lot when I work with clients. It's like, look, if you're at a restaurant and you see someone leave their purse behind on the table next to you, is it in your thought process that maybe I'll take that purse and take it home with me? No, it's not even something that crosses your mind. You think, oh, somebody left a purse. I need to see if they're still there, or I need to turn it in, or that's how it should be with food. That's how it should be with exercise. That's how it should be with spending time with your spouse. Like, these are things that you do because that's just the lifestyle that you've decided you're going to live for yourself.
Yeah, and I use a lot of the analogies with my work with my clients of CrossFit, right? So one of my ladies, one of my peer coaches has been a CrossFitter for, gosh, I don't know how long now, 5-10 years, probably at least. And, we can learn so much about the CrossFit model about how to manage our eating habits, I think, right? Because it becomes part of your identity. I'm a CrossFitter.
Yes. Oh,
That's what I just do.
So glad you said that word. Yes.
It also the community that's there.
Yep.
That, you need that community. You belong. It's important. If you don't show up at the gym, they notice and they call you out next time, right? It's part of the culture. We all do these really hard things together, and it's hard, but we're here for each other, and everyone else is doing it, and that's part of what makes it work too. So I love the CrossFit model for looking at it as, how do you facilitate change, behavior change, and things that are really hard to do, because it is hard to make eating habit change and lifestyle changes. Yeah,
I love that you said identity, because that's really a big piece of the whole puzzle when it comes to behavior change. And that is, I'll just use myself as an example. I was unhappy in my late 30s because I'll tell you, the pivotal point for me is we were at the beach. My daughter took a picture of me sitting at the beach in the beach chair, and I looked like a beached whale. I'm sitting here looking at this picture of myself, and I've got man boobs. I got my gut sticking out. I'm like, I don't ever show this picture to just get rid of this picture. I'm glad she didn't, because I need it now. I use it in my content to say, hey, this is where I was. But it was the first time that I was visually confronted with the reality that I was living. And it didn't match the identity that I had created for myself in my head. And I was like, okay, something has to change here. And I was forced to make a decision. Either I accept my reality and stay where I am, or I need to redefine and clarify the identity that I want to have and start doing the things that person would do. Right? So I had to create this identity. Okay, the picture I have in my head of who I am is I'm active. I don't have health issues. I don't have injuries. I feel comfortable in my skin. I'm not embarrassed to take my shirt off at the beach. All of these different things. And then I said, okay, what does that person do? This person is now a fictional person in my future. If I look at that person's life and say, what are the things that person does every day? What does he do when he gets out of bed? What does he do for breakfast? What does he do for work? Who does he hang out with? What does he do in the afternoon? When does he go to sleep? Like, you start putting these things together. And then if you start doing those things that you picture this person doing, before you know it, you'll be that person. Right? If we like to compare ourselves to people all the time. Well, I challenge people listening to this to compare yourselves to who you want to be and start doing the things that person was doing. And you will start moving yourself closer to the lifestyle that you want to have. I'm
glad you shared the pivotal picture moment for you, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the ladies listening to this have had a very similar experience where they get that one picture that they go, oh my gosh,
right?
My inner reality doesn't match my outer reality. So I love that okay. So this is a great thing, talking about what is the person that I have that I want to be? What do they do? How do you talk people through the things where they go, yeah, but I still want to have that wine with my girls on the weekend, and I still want to do this, and what about this? Like, what kind of mindset shifts can you give those people that are stuck with that? Like, but what about cake on my birthday? And what about on the cruise when I want to do this? And
there's two key pieces to that puzzle. And I think that one is emotion and the other is knowledge. So there's two things that have worked for me and worked for a lot of my clients. And that is, one, identifying their why or their why not. Why do they say they want something, or why, or what don't they want in their life anymore? And digging and digging and digging and digging to the non-surface level reasons why they want something. So I want to lose weight. Why do you want to lose weight? Well, so that I can look good in a bathing suit. Why do you look good in the bathing suit? Well, because I feel like at my age, I want to show up. I want to show out and say that it's possible at my age. Well, why is that important to you? Well, because, and you have to dig. And it's because, well, when I was a kid, my mom was always harping on how she never looked good and she always felt overweight. And I don't want to be that when I'm her age. You got to keep digging and digging and digging. If the reason you say you want to do something doesn't elicit emotion when you talk about it, then it's not deep enough and you need to keep digging. Okay. Your why should make you cry. And that is absolutely a very important factor in the process, because you're emotionally tied to the food right now. You're emotionally tied to your comfort zone. You're emotionally tied to not going to the gym because going to the gym is uncomfortable. Whatever the things are that you think you need to do to make progress, you have an emotional reason not to do it. If your emotional reason to do it isn't stronger than the opposite, then you're never going to move forward. So a lot of times I work with people to dig and dig and dig to find that thing that makes them emotionally vulnerable to why they really want to make a change. And then you have to keep that in front of you every single day. That's one aspect, the emotional connection to your why. The second thing is knowledge and understanding what things are actually doing to your body. And this happened with me with the alcohol for the 21-day detox I did, where I lost 10 pounds of fat. This has happened for me over the period of time when I learned about other different things, fitness and nutrition wise. But alcohol was probably one of the biggest things. My identity, and it's hard for me now, even today, I still identify in many ways as a bourbon guy. I haven't had a glass of bourbon. I think in the last 5 years, I've had 2 glasses of bourbon, right? I used to be, like I said, 3 or 4 glasses a week. I have 12 bottles of bourbon in a cabinet that have moved with me twice in the past few years, 3 times in the past few years, that are just sitting in a box because I can't fully give them away or get rid of them, because it's just, I still identify as that. I don't drink it anymore. I don't drink alcohol at all, because I realized and I got the knowledge about what alcohol actually does. The immense damage that alcohol does to the human body, even in small doses, blew my mind. And it literally got me to say, I'm never touching that again. It's not happening. I can't do it. There's absolutely no benefit. Everything about alcohol is a net negative in the conversation. And there is nothing that I can say about alcohol to justify what it does to me compared to the social impact or how I feel if I drink it. It's just that they just don't outweigh each other by any means. So having the knowledge of what things are actually doing and how they're affecting your progress, how they're affecting your life, how they're affecting your brain capacity, mental health, whatever it may be, is another big aspect. So I think people educating themselves and understanding what's going on and how these things affect you is a big piece as well.
That's what the shift that one of my ladies made recently. She's just said, all of her family were drinking and she was having some, and then she just realized, wait, why am I doing this to my body? Like, this is poison. And so she just made that shift of like, it wasn't like I'm missing out, I'm being deprived, poor me, everyone gets to do it, why can't I? It was just, oh, this is poison. Why am I doing this to myself? And then she's like, not an issue anymore.
Yep, absolutely. Once something clicks about, wow, this is really not. And I think one of the big mindset shifts that I work with people is to stop thinking in pros and cons and to start thinking in like finances, like net positive, net negative, and start thinking about things. Because when you think about a net positive, net negative, it takes the emotional, personal bias out of the conversation. If I'm thinking pros and cons, I can put in a whole bunch of biased, emotional context and justification into that conversation about why I should or why I shouldn't do something. If I literally just look at like look at the situation like a balance sheet. And I say, is this going to move me forward, or is this going to hold me back, or is this going to set me backwards? Am I positive? Am I balanced, or am I negative? Where am I based on the decisions I have in front of me? And that's a real easy way to say, because you know if something's in that negative, and you know if it's going to set you off in the wrong direction, and you then get to make a choice. This is my health as a financial model. Okay, you're probably, like many people in the world today, starting from a negative balance. You are 10, 20, 30, 100, $300,000 in debt, and you're wondering why you can't get out of debt when you're out there going shopping all the time, and you're eating out, and you're having parties, and you're buying fancy cars, and you're buying fancy clothes. These are all corollaries for eating food that's not helping your health, right? And your health balance isn't getting into the black, right? You're always going to be in the negative if you never do anything to increase that balance.
The health accounting with Coach.
Yeah, there you go. Health accounting.
Yeah. Great. I want to shift gears a little bit and kind of talk. I mean, this kind of fits too, but we talk about the difference of like people that are really hyper focused on getting to a certain size, a certain number on the scale, versus focusing on quality of life.
Yeah. Quality of life is where my focus is. And I think of all of the things that I've learned over the years, because I've been through the different phases. I've been through the let's lose fat. I've been through the let's just build muscle. I've been through the let's try to be as athletically proficient as possible. I've been through the I just want to look good naked. All of the different phases. I want to feel okay. I want to be okay taking my shirt off. There's even times now where I feel like I don't know if I want to take my shirt off, right? And I'm in the best shape of my life at 51 years old. Some of that stuff never changes, but what does change and what does impact how you live every day is your physical independence. You can't have a good quality of life if you can't physically participate in that life. And the combination of nutrition, the combination of fitness, and what you need to do in order to have a healthy functioning metabolism has nothing to do with any of the specifics that a lot of people like to talk about. And what I mean by that is people come to me all the time and they're like, I want to lose fat or I want to lose weight. Okay, great. That's fantastic. You realize that the things that you do to lose fat do not necessarily increase your quality of life. So you can lose fat and then that fat's going to come back, but you haven't done anything to actually live better. Okay. When we look at the symptoms of the issue, which body fat is a symptom of metabolic dysfunction. Okay. Metabolic dysfunction is the thing to address. Metabolic dysfunction is fuel management, lean mass, physical ability, brain function, central nervous system, biological systems, physiological systems. There's a lot more to it than just body fat. When we look at specific methods of doing things, I get this all the time as well. Well, I'm fasting. Why are you fasting? This is an example. Well, I'm fasting because this can help me lose weight. Okay, great. What about improving your metabolic function? Fasting isn't going to help build lean mass. Fasting is going to increase your BMR. Fasting isn't going to help you get stronger. So a lot of the influencers out there in the space, a lot of the information out there in the space is targeted at, and I get it because that's what people want. So you kind of have to market to what people are thinking in their head they want. And you can kind of switch it on them when they get in and be like, hey, guess what? This is really what you're going to get. But there's a lot of people that are thinking fat loss is the key or weight loss is the key or, something magic is going to happen when I get to my goal weight. And I don't know if you know Autumn Weathers. Watch Autumn Keto. She has a great talk that she does. That's basically she talks about if you don't love yourself where you are, you won't love yourself at your goal weight either. Right? Your goal weight has nothing to do with how you feel about yourself.
Oh, I got to reach out to her. Autumn, if you're watching, I want to have you on because that's a topic I want to.
Yes, it's a great topic.
More, yeah.
Watch Autumn Keto. She got a YouTube channel too. So, understanding that, when we talk about quality of life, that is the thing that you really want. There's something about the weight that you think that is limiting your ability to enjoy life. And you think losing the weight is going to fix it, but it's not. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to lose 60 pounds randomly. Just, I'm going to lose 60 pounds now. And no, there is something that's built up over a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, your entire life that has got you to the point where you think it's time to make a change, and weight loss is the change that's going to fix all the other things about you that you don't like. And understanding that that's not the case. Building strength is going to improve confidence. Building strength is going to improve physical ability. Building muscle is going to help your immune system. It's going to help you heal faster. It's going to prevent you from having injuries. Increasing your protein is actually going to help your hormone production and energy management. There's a lot of things about doing more than what we think when we think about, you're getting me on a tangent now. You're getting me on my soapbox. When we think about things other than quality of life, we immediately start in the process of elimination. When we think about quality of life, we think about, what am I adding to my life? The mindset shift is, if I'm just thinking about fat loss, what do I need to cut out so I lose fat? Because I'm thinking about reducing and losing something. What if we weren't thinking about that? What if we were thinking about, how do I add to my life? How can I improve my confidence? How can I improve my strength? How do I increase my physical ability to participate in activities every day? What are those types of things that I can do to increase and add and grow, which now becomes, it's not about restriction. It's not about limitation. It's not about I'm not able to enjoy the things that I'm doing, because everything in that mindset is about growth, enjoyment, and prosperity in your life, instead of just losing and restricting and dieting. And that's why I like quality of life over everything else.
Yeah, I find it's a soapbox topic for me as well. And it's a really hard shift for a lot of my ladies to make, because, for decades, 40, 50 years, they've just got this broken record in their head, and they really believe that if they're a certain size or a number on the scale, everything in their life will magically be amazing. Yeah. And it's never the case. Like, there's research that shows that people have had gastric bypass and they lose, hundreds of pounds, and they still are just as unhappy in that smaller body. And then they also often have body dysmorphic disorder, where they still feel like, I lost 100 pounds and I still feel like I'm the same size. And it's really because you haven't changed that mindset inside of your head to realize that your why that you talked about. Like, if it doesn't make you cry, like, remembering that. And I have some of my ladies that have lost, over 80 pounds, but they still feel like, and they've got amazing quality of life, and their labs are amazing. And they're like, yeah, but I still weigh this much. And it's like, so then I try to do the experiment of like, okay, so what if you woke up tomorrow and the scale said, you just woke up magically tomorrow, the scale is the number that you want. How would you feel? And they're like, well, no, not really, and I'm like, see?
Yeah. And another thing too is to think about is, how do we quantify quality of life? This is another aspect on the flip side of the discussion, is when we look at just the fat loss or looking at a weight goal, where people run into walls along the way, because you're only looking at one thing. It's like you're walking on a sidewalk, or you're walking down the street or a path, and you're walking and you're looking at the path directly in front of you. You run into a wall. You don't know what to do because you didn't see the wall coming. But now you don't know how to get around it because you're just looking at this little thing right in front of your feet. Right. But if you look up and look around, when we talk about our quality of life, it opens up the possibility. Without getting too much into the specifics, there are 20 different components of fitness and physical performance that we can add into the equation to determine progress. Right? Instead of just thinking about, have I lost weight? What about, have I gained muscle? What about, am I getting stronger? Do I have more energy? Do I have more endurance? Am I more flexible? Can I do movements and can I get up and down off the ground easier than I used to be able to do? Can I go play in the backyard with my grandkids or my pets and not feel wore out at the end of the day? Am I able to do things around the house without having to ask for help? These are things that I get, that my ladies come back to me all the time. And they're like, oh my God, I went to the store and loaded 5 50-pound bags of mulch, by myself, and brought them home and brought them out to the backyard and mulched my entire garden. And I still have energy to cook dinner tonight, and this type of thing. And it's like, and they're like, this is what we want. They want to be able to do that type of thing when they're 60, 70, 80, and 90 years old. And that's the goal. That's quality of life. It doesn't matter how much they weigh. It doesn't matter what their body fat is. What are they doing in their life?
Oh, we froze. Can we still hear you, Coach? Oh, you're moving again. You're moving again. Yeah. It's like to emphasize the point, you just froze right there.
Oh, really? Yeah, as long as the point came across.
That's great. So you train mostly women, and let's talk about this myth, right? Because where did this come from in the 70s? Where it's like, women, you want to get toned and fit, and women think they don't want to gain muscle, they just want to get toned. So can you break this down? Or I don't know if you know where it came from.
I don't know where it came from.
A gallon of water a day thing.
I think this probably has its roots in feminism to a degree. Differentiation. I don't know. There's who knows what it could be, without getting into the socio-political discussion about all of these things between men and women. Understanding that toning yourself is the result of improving how your body works. Okay. Another word for tone is fit. Okay. I want to look tone is the same as someone saying, I want to look fit. Okay. You want to look good in a bikini. You want to look good in a bathing suit. You don't want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nobody wants to look like Arnold. I don't want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay. In order to do that, let's just give you an idea of, if you've seen women on social media who are bodybuilders or that just look really muscular, and you're like, I don't want to look like that. Okay, great. That's fantastic. In order for you to look like that, we're going to break a couple of things down. Number one, you have to work out an hour to 2 hours every day lifting heavy weights in the gym for, at a minimum, for most people just getting started, at a minimum 4 to 5 years in order to get.
I'll interject one that was not on your list. You have to go back in time, pick different parents that give you genetics that make it really easy to be lean your whole life. Okay,
right?
Keep going.
Well, so that's the next part of it. So you have to spend several years building the amount of muscle to look that way. That's number one. And consistently, hours a day for years. Okay. Number two, you have to lock in your diet to a point that nobody listening to this video or podcast is probably going to do. I don't want to do it. In order to get as lean as these people do, there is a level of commitment and obsession over nutrition. Number one, it's beyond the norm. Number two, most of them end up with eating disorders. Okay. So there's a combination of things that you would have to do in order to get bulky as a woman, right? It's not going to happen. Getting bulky working out is like saying, I'm going to go to the gym for 6 months and become a bodybuilder. That doesn't work. It's like saying, I'm going to get my driver's license tomorrow, and then next week I'm going to be a NASCAR driver, right? It doesn't work that way. Okay. You have to progress, and it has to be done intentionally. It is not going to happen by accident. So understanding a couple of those things. If you want to look fit, then get fit. That's the solution. If you want to lose weight and shape your body in a way that you think is attractive, I think fit is probably the best general description. There's a bunch of different other ways you could describe it, but if you want to look like you're somebody who is physically active and capable to do things that they want to do without limitation, then train your body to be capable and physically active so that you can do things without physical limitation. If you get fit, you look fit. And that's really, I think, what most people really want.
And I think a hard reality sometimes for women that have been, 80 plus pounds overweight is that most of the time your body's just not going to snap back and look like those influencers you see on social media. There's going to be some loose, saggy skin in places, some stretch marks and things like that, especially for ladies that have had children. And there can be a grieving process with kind of acknowledging the fact that your body's never going to look like it did when you were 20 or,
and that's another reason why thinking about how it looks is so self-defeating. Mm-hmm. I can do a lot more now at 51 than I could ever do when I was 18. Mm-hmm. My body is capable on so many more levels. I can physically participate and handle so many more things because I have the experience and I have the training and I have trained my body to be versatile. That if I were to, there's several things. If I were to be put in certain situations when I was 18 years old, I would break down. I would hurt myself. I was in better shape. I was 7% body fat when I got out of basic training. Okay. I weighed 165 pounds. I was 7% body fat. Okay. I was ripped. I was cut. Okay. I looked fantastic. I was not as strong as I am now. I was not as physically able as I am now. Okay. I could run a lot and that was about it. Okay. But the things I can do now, I would much rather be the me now who's got a wide range of physical ability than ever want to go back to being 18 or 19 or 20 years ago, no matter how good I looked then. Because I can do so much more now. I can participate in life at a completely different level.
Another thought experiment I'll give my ladies too, because a lot of them are, grandmothers and mothers and they love their children. It's like, okay, so if you want to go back in time, you want to live in that 20-year-old body, that means you have to give up your family that you love so much now. You don't get to keep your grandchildren if you want to be 20, live in that 20-year-old body again. It's got other cultures around the world like embrace a woman's body that's bared children and has aged and shows signs of aging as wisdom versus our culture is youth obsessed and perfection and the filters and the fake images. I love those the ones that just dispel the myths of like, this is my body when I'm just sitting and this is how I pose. And it's like, there's a lot of trickery going on. And
there's so much. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you do to help people kind of make shifts in behaviors that are just the things that kind of hold them up?
Yeah. God, that's a wide open question. I outside of focusing on the why and trying to educate people, I think working through the process of what are they ready, willing, and able to do. I think understanding that you can't make sweeping changes, you have to make small changes, and you have to make changes that are sustainable that you can build on. So whether it's implementing a fitness routine or changing something about the way you eat or looking at your schedule and making changes to your schedule to facilitate a better sleep time or planning ahead when you're going to a party. It's really about the habits and the way that you think about different things in your life. So developing self-awareness, I think, is where a lot of it starts. So if you're struggling and you feel like you're not making progress, go back to the basics, and the basics are up here. Right? How do you think about the things that you're trying to do? How do you think about the processes? How do you think about your journey? How do you think about your goals? If there's a good chance that you're stuck because you have a self-belief or you have a perception about something in the world or yourself or a relationship or your job or who knows what it is that is holding you back. So asking yourself, do I have to do it that way? Is this thought process accurate? Or is it just something that I've had and I've never addressed or confronted to see if it's actually something that is true or if it's a construct of my mind? So developing self-awareness is a huge piece. And most people are not good at developing self-awareness. They're not good at being self-aware. We see it all the time. I see it all the time when a client comes to me and says, hey, I went off the wagon this weekend and I'll get back on track on Monday. Right. And I get this text message on Sunday morning. Right. Okay. And my first response is, why can't you get back on track right now? There's the level of self-awareness. Well, just because you went off track doesn't mean you have to stay on track until some kind of random benchmark. The next opportunity you have to get back on track is the next opportunity you have to make a decision. I'm going to eat dinner today. Even though I messed up this morning, I'm going to eat dinner tonight and I'm going to eat something that's going to help me move forward. You don't have to wait till Monday. Don't have to wait till the weekend is over. That's a perception. That's a limiting self-belief, right? I messed up over the weekend, so I have to wait till the weekend is over to get back on track. No, you don't. Get back on track now. That's how this works. That's one example. Self-awareness, if you don't have it in the instant that something is happening, then you have to practice doing it after the thing has happened. So in that example where, you go to a party on a Saturday night and you eat something or you drink, you didn't want to do it. You come back in on Saturday or on Sunday morning, spend some time and evaluate what was your thought process when this happened. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Spend some time, journal, write it down. Practice asking yourself the questions as if you're your own therapist. What were you thinking? What was your motivation? What was the justification you gave yourself? What was the excuse? Whatever it may be, write it all down and start analyzing these things and ask yourself, are these things true? Are these things constructs? What's going on here? Where did this all come from? When you can get into a habit of doing that after something has happened that sets you back and build a habit and build those neural pathways and that processing, you're going to find that the gap between the trigger, the action, and the self-awareness is going to start closing in. And eventually what's going to happen is your self-awareness is going to start kicking in between the trigger and the action. So right now, a lot of people are, something triggers me, I react to it negatively, then I have to figure out and do an after action review and figure out what happened. The more you do that, you can insert self-awareness in between the trigger and the reaction and change the reaction.
You're perfectly seeding the one of the programs that I teach is exactly what you're talking about.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll have to talk afterwards about if you want to help me promote this.
Sure.
But it's called the Pathway to End Emotional Eating. So I mentioned before we came on that I have a master's degree in clinical health psychology, and I got to intern at a place. One of the ladies was trained by Marsha Linehan, which people who are psychology nerds would know. She's one of the people that developed, or she's the person who developed DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy.
Okay.
And so I developed, based on things that I was exposed to there, I developed this whole pathway of how do you, exactly what you're talking about is you start to identify the things that happened. Because like you said, what happens is like, all I know is my hand was in this and I was eating it. Like I'm totally unaware. I don't even know. I don't know why I ate it. And so taking the time to start to notice those things, naming feelings, emotions, noticing the patterns of what happened, that collapses down to the point where then you finally, I teach it as, it's exactly what you're talking about, but I teach it as like, you actually get a little bit more time where you actually have a conscious decision point you can make.
Yep.
Versus now it's like, it's just autopilot. You don't even know why you're doing it. So
yeah.
So it's a program that I've had some people, I've usually teach it like once a year. And it's, the cool thing about it is it's diet agnostic. We don't talk about food at all. It's all about why is it used, basically it's behavior change at the emotional level. So.
Yeah. The food and the fitness are the easy part about this whole process. I've been coaching for almost 12. Yeah, I've been coaching for almost 12 years. And that's probably the most, I don't even know what the right word is, impactful thing that I've learned as a coach is that 90% of the work that I do has nothing to do with food or fitness.
Yeah.
Right. That's the easy. I can give you macros. I can give you what to eat. I can give you a shopping list. I can say, go get this and don't do anything outside of that. You're going to make progress if you do it. Mm-hmm. And the same with fitness. I can give you a bazillion different fitness plans and they're going to work for you if you do it. Getting people to do it consistently in any circumstance, that's the hard part. And that's all up here in the head. Yeah,
just like you mentioned about how, autumn weather, so that if you don't love yourself now, you're not going to love yourself no matter what size or shape your body looks. So that's still the mindset stuff. So
absolutely.
Okay, we talked about that, and this is what happens that I get so in the moment. Oh, I wanted to sleep. Okay. Oh, no. Wait. I remember the thing that I wanted to ask you about, like along the lines of what we're talking about, like the whatever you believe, right? If you So here's one that a lot of people say, I'm too busy. You don't understand how many things I got to do during the day. I'm too busy to show up to a meeting. I'm too busy to eat healthy. I'm too busy to go work out today. What do you say to that?
If you survey, and there have been some surveys and there's some studies and data out there, the most successful people in the world, a good majority, I want to say it's like 85% or more of them will say that they have to keep a fitness routine in their schedule. Otherwise, the rest of their schedule doesn't work. There's something about prioritizing your self-care that brings everything else into picture. And the reason you don't have time is because you're not taking the time for yourself. Okay. The excuse, and this is another coaching thing that I learned. Every excuse that someone is going to give me or that I hear from somebody is actually the reason why they need to do it.
I love
every single excuse. There is not an excuse that I've ever heard that doesn't have a converse flip that says, well, that's exactly why you should be doing this. If you want to have more time, start prioritizing yourself. And you will find and make the time, and you will see how other things start falling into place.
Well, this will be a fun little thing that I'll say the excuse and then you can turn it into the why. So
here we go.
I gotta take my kid to his soccer practice and basketball. I gotta take care of my kid. How?
Yeah. Well, you can do that, but that doesn't mean that you can't do something while you're there. That doesn't mean that, and this is another limiting belief. Because I'm at soccer practice, that's all I can do. You know how many clients I have that will do a body weight workout behind the bleachers while their kid's playing a game, right? Or they'll bring some weights with them or a weight vest, and they'll walk around the field while their kids are playing a game, right? That's not an excuse. That's an opportunity. Now you have time. You're there. You could either sit on the chair for the hour,
or sit in your car and scroll Facebook,
or do whatever that is. Right? Or you could actually utilize that time, multitask, get some fitness in. Or let's say it's not fitness. Maybe that's a great time for you to put in what your meal plans for the rest of the week are going to be, or make some commitments to other things in your schedule, adjust your schedule so you can get your workout in for the rest of the week. Okay, that is a perfect opportunity for you to do something that's going to move you forward.
And your kid is the why you want to take care of yourself in the first place.
Absolutely.
You want to be there around and healthy in their life. You don't want to be the burden that they have to take care of when they're older.
Yeah. And you're setting an example, right? They get to see mom or dad isn't just sitting here watching me. Yeah, they're watching me, they're cheering me on, and you can do that while you're doing this other stuff, right? But they're also saying your self-care is important to you. The biggest example you can set for your kids' mental health as they get older is helping them understand by setting an example the importance of your own self-care, right? If you set an example of self-sacrifice, then they're going to think that's what life is about. And that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, and it's a pattern I'm hearing a lot, that maybe I'm just listening for it or something, but just so many different people that are talking about how important it is to have some kind of a, fitness routine or some hard workout that they do to balance their mental health. And then also it's so powerful for offsetting the food addiction behaviors, right? Anna Lemke is the one, I believe, that I think her book is Dopamine Nation, where she's found that for her, she works with, she's a therapist that works with, and I think she's actually like a psychiatrist, but she works with people that have all kinds of really intense addictions. And she's found that, the workout ends up being one of the most important things. And then I was listening
it's almost 2 times as powerful as any medication. Intense physical activity has so many benefits from a mental health perspective. It's absolutely phenomenal. And we're learning more and more and more about it, right? There was a study that came out a couple months ago, I believe, that said that physical exercise is 1.5 times more successful or more powerful than every psychotic drug on the market today. Like, what? That is crazy.
But
basically SSRIs don't do anything. Exercise is better. Like what?
But what about the side effects, Coach Bronson, of exercise?
The living a better life, feeling more confident, having more energy, reducing risk of injury, better body composition. The side effects are amazing.
You got to have a warning label on the side of the machines of like, may make you feel more confident, may make you improve your mood and feel more balanced.
Yeah. And then have you heard of the mood chemicals, mood hormones? I forget
neurotransmitters?
No, it's I'm trying to think of the word that they use, the phrase hope molecules is what they're. So hope molecules. Myokines basically are amino acids that get released by the muscle when you exercise that go straight to the brain and improve your mood.
Oh, that's fun.
Right. So if anybody's interested in looking into some of the benefits of exercise, look up hope molecules and what those are all about if you want to dig into a rabbit hole.
I will.
Awesome. And then BDNF, right? Brain-derived nootropic. I always forget what the F is. Not formula.
Factor.
Thank you. BDNF is another thing is stimulated by exercise, right? So we increase neuroplasticity, we increase neurogenesis, we improve overall brain function. Our ability to learn and our ability to remember increases when we exercise. Because we're moving our body, we're building neural pathways, and we're making our brain work as well. So there's so many good things about it.
What would you say to somebody then that, because I'm always the type of person that, and I'm just asking for you to give some advice here, because I would say, like somebody says, oh my gosh, but after I work out, I'm ravenous and I like can't control, my appetite. I just want to shove food in my mouth. What would you say to those?
I would say you're probably not eating enough in general. That's usually a sign that you're not eating enough in general. You should not feel ravenous after a workout unless you've been starving yourself.
And I think it's also a sign that your body, and this was something we need to talk about too, metabolic flexibility. If your body's stuck burning carbohydrates and it hasn't become fat adapted, that also can trigger that, like you've depleted all of your carbohydrate and your body just does need to refuel that way. So that's a good transition then to
that's something that I hear too when people are cycling carbs because they think they need carbs to exercise, which you don't. So metabolic flexibility is misunderstood and often misused by a lot of people, and it's really frustrating for me in many cases to hear, because I have to explain it to people all the time. Metabolic flexibility is not about what you eat, it's about what you don't eat, and it's about what your body is doing within its own internal processes. Okay. The term metabolic flexibility, the way it's used in many cases, is you want to eat some carbs so that your body is good as processing carbs as it is processing fat. That's the simple.
People, you've eaten enough carbs your whole life. Your body's fine at eating carbs. You don't need to eat carbs.
here's the thing, and this is it goes beyond that, because that's technically what we're talking about there is we're talking about digestive flexibility. It has nothing to do with metabolism or with energy metabolism. Okay. What we're talking about, if you have to eat some carbs in order for your body to get good at processing carbs, we're talking about your body's ability to digest carbohydrates. That has nothing to do with metabolic flexibility. Metabolic flexibility is the result of being zero or low carb, where fat is your primary source of fuel, and your body has to utilize internal resources via gluconeogenesis to create glucose for your body to use as energy. So what happens is, and this is something a lot of people don't know as well, gluconeogenesis is not just burning protein and turning protein into glucose. Gluconeogenesis is an umbrella of multiple processes that primarily utilize the byproducts of ketogenesis. So your body takes fatty acids, it breaks it down into ketones. The stuff that's left over, acetoacetate, acetate, pyruvate, lactate, all of these byproducts of the ketogenic process outside of ketones, right? When you think of BHB, that's the main product of ketogenesis. All the other stuff gets kicked into a bunch of other processes that our body utilizes to make ATP and glucose. That process, everything that happens from being ketogenic, supports all the other systems in our body to allow fat, ketones, sugar, glycogen, glucose to all be created from the stuff we already have inside of us. That is metabolic flexibility. The minute you introduce carbs from an external source, you shortcut that entire process and you are no longer metabolically flexible.
You got to dispose of the carbs before you can get back to burning the other stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Your body is going to utilize and create the fuel that it needs from the things it already has. And all it needs to do that is protein and fat.
It riles some people up when you say that carbohydrates aren't essential.
Well, I don't know why, because it's not.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Even basic nutrition textbooks say carbs aren't essential, which I think is hilarious because they say in one page, it's like carbs are not essential. And the next page, but you need them to do this and that and this and that. It's like, which one is it? Make up your mind.
They're sponsored by bleep insert.
Yeah, right.
Big food company here. Who's not sponsoring the show, but does sponsor some of the credentials of the nutritionist in this country. See, I'm so in the moment of what we're talking about. I like think of another question and then I'm like, wait,
go for it.
You wanted to ask? Let's see. Okay. Oh, we need to talk about sleep because that goes along with the like, I'm too busy. I don't have enough time to sleep. Let's talk about how personally, I think that sleep and stress maybe are the most underrated things for how bad they are or important, stress management, adequate sleep for health and longevity. So we didn't even put stress on the table. Well, let's start with sleep.
Let's start with sleep, but we can talk about stress a little bit too, because everything we've talked about is all about stress. Okay. Before we get into sleep, I want to couch this idea because it's something I've been working on for a little bit, and it may be a rabbit hole that over the next year or two, I really dig into, but that is life is stress management. There is not a single aspect of your life, mental, emotional, physical, philosophically, biological, physiological, neurological, nothing is absent of stress. There's good stress and there's bad stress. Everything that we do is preparing for stress, managing stress, or recovering from stress. Everything. Right? If we look at the general adaptation syndrome, we look at that whole process, it is literally stress. Stress management is life. Okay. The problem comes in is when we don't actually manage it, we try to avoid it. You can't manage something if you're not willing to face it and change the things that are stressing you. You have to determine the good stresses and the bad stresses. And one of the ways we do that is by getting more sleep. If you prioritize sleep, which is still a stress, it's a hormetic stress. Okay. It causes some systems in our body to activate. It causes other systems in our body to kind of chill out. Okay. So the more sleep we get, we are increasing our body's efficiency at rest and recovery. We're increasing anabolic processes. We're increasing balancing hormones. We're increasing our ability to grow, reduce stress, and a bunch of other things. So sleep is an important factor in managing stress. So if you're not, it is like, honestly, it's probably step number one in the whole stress management handbook, right? If you're not getting sleep, anything else you do to manage stress is going to be harder than it should be.
No, but I got these pills from CVS. They're going to manage my stress for me.
Right. Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all. Maybe for a couple months, and then they're just going to go down and tank. So sleep is super important, particularly the more your body is going through changes. I have a lot of women who struggle with sleep because of the changes their body are going through. It's more important to prioritize it, particularly in that perimenopause, postmenopause phase, right? Getting into what can we do to improve sleep. Some of the things that you can do: increase your protein, increase your electrolyte intake, increase your physical activity, right? That tell your body that I'm doing things that I need to recover from, and I need to use this time for that to happen. Increase your IGF, increase the different hormones in your body that help you recover. And it's something that, again, it goes back to the self-care. If you don't prioritize your own self-care, you will not be able to take care of the people that you think are more important than you.
I'm going to make a statement and see if you agree with it. Here's a test to know if you're not getting enough sleep. If you have to get up with an alarm in the morning, you're not getting enough sleep.
That's probably more true than I'd like it to be.
If we could, because my personal goal with my my business and my life is to not have to have an alarm to get up in the morning. And so days that I have to have an alarm to get up means I didn't go to sleep early enough. I didn't schedule myself.
Correct. Yeah.
Because your body will, like so many things, if it's working correctly, it will fall asleep when it's time to sleep, and it will wake up when it's had enough sleep.
Yep. Getting sleep is often, I work with a lot of women who are putting their work or their family ahead of themselves when it comes to going to bed, right? They're up late because they got laundry to do. They're up late because they got extra work to do. There's a project, whatever it may be. And at some point you have to make a decision. And this is something that everyone has to go through. You come to those crossroads of, I understand these other things are important, but I have to prioritize at some point in time. Some things got to be a priority. And right now I'm at the bottom of the priority list. I'm killing myself that way. Something has to change. If you put yourself at the top of the priority list, it's not selfish. Okay. And that is something that a lot of women deal with. A lot of my clients have had that conversation of saying, look, just because you're prioritizing your ability to function, which literally is what we're talking about. We're not talking about going out and get a mani-pedi every Friday. Okay. We're talking about going to bed on time so your body doesn't break down. There's a big difference. Okay. So if we're talking about doing what we can to adjust your schedule and prioritize yourself so that you have the health, the energy, and the physical ability to take care of those things that are important to you, that is not selfish. That is actually preparing yourself to give more, because now you have a full bucket at the start of the day instead of starting the day and your bucket's almost empty already.
Yeah, it's so true. And I've had one client that we kind of uncovered this pattern that, so she wasn't getting enough sleep because she liked to stay up really late at night and then had to get up in the morning and do all the other care for everybody else in her family in the morning. And we discovered that it was that time at night after everyone was in bed was the only time that she was getting to herself. And so she thought, well, I don't want to change my daytime stuff because that's selfish. If I do that, that's selfish. So then I helped her come to the realization that she was being selfish using that time at night for herself. But we had to shift it around because it's not selfish if you're taking care of yourself, right? So you mentioned something about there's this misconception that self-care is mani-pedis and massages and going out to brunch with the girls. Right. But self-care literally means taking care of your basic needs as a human, right? So if we think of child care, it's self-care is just taking care of your human needs. It's not indulgent pampering. Pampering is different. That that can be care of yourself. But pampering and self-care are very different. Self-care is literally feeding yourself, getting enough sleep, enough water, nutrients, electrolytes, salt. So we have to take the word selfish out of self-care. Those are two different things. And like you said, so if you think of if you feed your child, is that indulgent and pampering your child? Is making sure your child takes a bath and gets to bed on time? Is that indulgent and spoiling them? No, that's basic child care. So I'm getting riled up about this because it's so true. Is that so many women?
Well,
it's selfish if they take care of themselves. It's like no, which it's
When we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of need, right? If anybody's familiar with that, go look it up. The basics. Was it 5? I just pulled it up real quick. Five needs of every human being, right? And we start with physiological needs. You need to breathe. You need food. You need that kind of stuff. You need safety and security. You need shelter. You need loving and belonging. The things that fall into those basic levels of basic human need, I love how you said that, are the things that a lot of times my clients are giving up to give those to someone else. And you can't get to self actualization. You can't get to feeling good about yourself. You can't get to feeling content with your life if you're giving away the foundation of basic human need to other people, and you're not getting any of it yourself. And that's where unhappiness comes from.
And you're modeling that for children, that's the only way to live your life.
Yep.
And be a parent role model for others.
Right.
All right. Stress, sleep. Well, I think that was all that was on my list. We got peaked, and then
we got any questions? We got any questions from people?
I haven't seen any come in. So if you're watching, got some questions for Coach Bronson. Also, give us an emoji if this has been impactful in any way, because I can see that we've got some of you that have been hanging around for this whole time. And
thanks for hanging around, guys.
Yeah, most of you on YouTube. So share a comment, give it, if you don't have anything you think you want to say, give some kind of just a random emoji, whatever the top emoji is in your phone right now, just give us that one so we know you're here and listening. So, and if any of this has been like a big aha for you, I dare you to type HAA, aha, or the mind blown emoji, if you can find that one as well. That would be fun if anybody shares that. So, but such good stuff and such good messages. I'm so glad that you care about our female species that much to be able to share this message, because it does. Some men fall into this pattern. I mostly work with women, so that's why we're talking about women, and 40 plus. So this is kind of a pattern that I see with the ladies that I work with. Exactly what we're talking about here is that they put everybody else first, and they feel like they don't have time to take care of themselves. They feel guilty. They feel like they're being selfish if they do that. And really, we need to turn that completely on its head. Oh, we got a heart react on this one. So yay.
Awesome. Good. Awesome. Yeah. My background and the reason that I really got into this, like really connected with my why, after I had kind of gotten into it, was two things. One, when my grandmother passed, the process of watching her deteriorate to a point where, the last time I spoke to her before she passed away, she was so weak. She was laying face down in a bed. She couldn't even turn over to sit up to say anything to anybody. I had to hold her hand and talk to her with her face smushed down in a pillow because she, and say goodbye to her. And that was the last, not even being able to hug her, just literally just hold her hand because she was so weak she couldn't sit up. And then, I started working with my mom, who just turned 69. I started working with her when she was like 60 or 61. And watching her go through the process of, reversing osteoporosis, falling in love with fitness, enjoying the things that she can do as she's improved her physical ability as she's gotten closer to 70, right? She started at 60, not even being able to jump in a foot forward, much less any height in the air, and now she's, one of her favorite things to do is box jumps on 18, 20 inches. She loves to deadlift. She loves to she does burpees with me. Like her worst the exercise she hates the most is wall balls. Like she has an exercise that she hates. She has exercises. She loves to row. She loves a rowing machine in her basement. So knowing that my mother's experience when she gets ready to pass is going to be a 180-degree difference than what I had to go through with my grandmother, that's why I do this. So that's where my passion for working with women comes from, because I've experienced both ends. And I think the more people I can help experience what my mother's going through at almost 70 years old, the more powerful everything's going to be. Like, it's just, we need, and I wrote a chapter, I have a chapter in my book titled "We Need Strong Women." And that is, I think, something that we're missing in society today.
Oh, we got Lynn says, really love everything you're talking about, especially question your why to cry. How do I deal with failure? I won't commit to eating plan and exercise because I never stick to it. That's a good one. Afraid of why it never worked before. I was never able to stick with it. Why should I even try?
Yeah, you're not able to stick with it because you're afraid you're not going to stick with it. Right? So understand And this is that self-awareness. I would ask you, why are you afraid of failure? What is it about your past experiences that's got you afraid of failure? Because failure isn't anything unless failure is an opportunity to correct and move forward. Okay, that didn't work. What can I try this time to try again? Okay. The only way you actually fail is if you don't do anything. So, the analogy that I've heard before, and I'm not quite sure if it fits this exactly, but you kind of get the point, is if you get one flat tire, you're not going to pop all four of them. Okay. And that's the mentality a lot of people have. Well, I blew this, so I might as well just go off and not do anything. Well, that doesn't make sense.
Well, something you probably like this. The Dave Feldman at one of the conferences when I don't remember which one we were at, that he had an analogy that I loved. He talked about how, if you're driving on the road and you accidentally hit a car, you don't then just smash into every other car on the road after that.
Right.
Well, I hit one. Might as well just hit them all.
Might as well hit them all. Yeah, exactly.
And we're not laughing at. We're laughing at the analogy, and this is a very true emotional thing. Yep. And I have a lot of ladies that are like, it's never worked before. And I like to talk about it. It's like, we have the fantasy. We're told this lie that changing eating habits, getting fit, engaging in exercise is just like a light switch. It's a straight line. You just decide to do it and it's easy and then you do it.
Right. Yeah. No.
And it's really not the truth. Is that almost everybody that I work with, the weight loss is messy, There's starts and stops, and that's most people. Some people make the change. It's a light switch. They just do it and they don't look back, and they don't have the failures you're talking about. But it's much more common. And frankly, one of my peer coaches, she is the average woman, and she's down over 60 pounds in 5 years, but she beats herself up because she says, I'm not where I want to be. I feel like I'm a failure because I'm not at my goal weight yet. And I said, yes. But in the 5 years, you're a net 60 pounds lost. Where would you be if you had given up, if you actually given up? And so she looks at these like, well, I failed here and I went off path here and I lapsed there. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't give up. You didn't fail. You're just learning things along the way, and you're still on the path. And the path isn't a straight line. That's much more normal.
Yeah. When you were a baby, Lynn, ask yourself this question. When you were a baby and learning how to walk, if you fell down, did you just say, screw it, I'm never trying to stand up again? That's what this is. It's the same process. It's the same process. You have to keep going and keep trying. The where people get stuck is they keep trying the same thing. Okay. Keep trying doesn't mean just keep doing the same thing over and over and over if it's not working. You have to find out ways to make changes and adjustments and do things differently. Maybe it's up here. Okay. I would highly recommend, if, again, this is the food and the fitness are easy. If you're not doing it, I would say get a coach, get a therapist, get somebody that you can go talk to and work through the stuff that's up here to help you think about things differently, to help you connect more with your why, to help you understand what is a limiting belief, why you're afraid of failure. What is it, the thing that's keeping you from taking the step and being consistent? Right? Because it's not the nutrition plan. You already know what to do. It's not the fitness plan. You already know what to do. You're just not doing it. So that tells me it's not about the solution. It's about the thought process. So figure out what that is, and then you might see some progress.
Thank you for the question, Lynn. Great question.
Great question.
Common one. Yeah. Well, if anyone else has any closing questions or more questions, and
we could do this like once a week if you want. I love talking about this stuff.
It's great. This is important. It's really, really important messages because, especially I think most women these days, and Michelle Wolf is one of my favorite comedians, and she has this phrase about how women are told you can have it all, you can do it all, but the truth is that we have to do it all. And I'm sure this is similar to the women you're working with, is that like they wear 1,000 hats in their life, and they work full time, and they're very successful.
Yeah.
And they run their household and they take care of the kids, and and, take care of all their family members, and they run their family members to all the medical appointments, and they maybe have aging parents that they're taking care of as well. And then they run the PTA, and then they,
well, then there's also a big percentage of the women that I work with are at that phase now where their kids are gone. And they're kind of trying to figure out, okay, I don't know how to take care of myself. I don't even know what to do. Like, what does it mean? What does self-care even mean? And now they've got the time to do it. And now the struggle is they're so used to doing things for other people. They're making up things to do. They're finding busy work. They're finding things to be stressed about because they don't know how to live without the stress, because it's just a whole nother
they get 2 new puppies instead of taking care of themselves, and they add more stress. So Lynn says that actually makes a lot of sense. Gives me hope to try something new. Yay! Awesome. Look at that. You found the hope molecule on the podcast today. That's great. Well, anything else in closing, Coach Bronson, that you were hoping I would ask about, or that you?
Oh my God, we could go on for hours. We'll have to do it again, because there's literally, there's so many things to talk about. We could talk a lot more about, maybe we could do another chat sometime and talk about finding individual context and filtering information and understanding how to apply all the stuff that's out there to your specific situation without being confused and being set off track. Understanding that experimentation is okay. Again, failure is okay. You have to be willing to try. Otherwise, you're never going to move forward. That's a whole nother talk we can talk about. Principles over protocols. 100%.
Nice. Yeah. And individualization. I think that's missing in a lot of nutrition and behavior and fitness programs. It's like, I think that's one of the biggest problems with nutrition research too, is they're looking for the one answer.
Oh, don't get me there starting that. Understanding, well, the term bio-individuality really ticks me off. It's a hot button for me because people use it incorrectly. And it's not about bio-individuality. It's just about individuals. And it's not the biology that's different. We're all humans. We all function the same freaking way. Okay. If bio-individuality was a thing the way many people talk about it, modern medicine wouldn't work, because no medicine would work for the same person twice, or for 2 different people the same way, right? Nothing would work. We'd all have different colored blood. Who knows all the different things, right? Bio-individuality does not mean that humans function inherently different across the broad spectrum of society. Okay. Bio-individuality is the combination of the individual, the experience, the exposure, the environment, the goals, the mentality, the limiting beliefs. There's so many things that go into that. It's not because humans are different across the board. That is not what bio-individuality is. That's another soapbox of mine.
Trisha's got a comment here. I think that self-care is selfish concept goes further than role modeling. It's about loving and respecting yourself. And why would family and friends love and respect you if you don't love and respect yourself?
That's powerful. I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that, Trisha. Sounds like
that goes into a whole nother discussion where we talk about setting your boundaries and training people how you want them to treat you. Don't just take it. Like, it's interesting how you see parents who don't set boundaries with their kids, who then get mad because their kids treat them a certain way. And we do that too. We just do things, and then people expect that's how we're going to do things. And then when we try to change it, they get mad. It's like, look, we got to make a change. So you might have to sit down with your family and say, look, guys, I haven't been prioritizing myself enough. I'm falling apart. I need your help. And that may be part of the process of you bringing this to your family. Don't just do it on your own, right? Get your family involved.
I just realized there's another type that this type that we're talking about that isn't taking care for themselves because they're doing things for everybody else. Yeah. Another one I know is the control freaks. They need to do everything because they don't trust anybody else to do anything right. So they end up taking on every role, and they're just going to talk about stress overload. So they're going to We're gonna have to write a book about this because I think we've identified some archetypes that are self-care isn't selfish. There we go. There's our book title.
There's the book title. There you go.
We're gonna have the 5 or 7 archetypes of the people that won't take care of it.
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
This is great. Well, let's wrap this up for this time, and we'll schedule another time. And if you're watching the replay, #replay in the comments, and I'll tag Coach Bronson for any questions that you've got in the future for him here. CoachBronson.com. Am I getting that right?
Yep.
Let me add that banner in here.
Yep. CoachBronson.com. I'm on YouTube at Coach.Bronson. My Instagram is Coach.Bronson. And you can get my book on Amazon. It's the Ultimate Ketogenic Fitness Book.
Nice. All right. And I'll have to recommend that because one of my clients is working with a personal trainer and they keep arguing with her, telling her she needs to increase her carbs. And so I'll tell her to get your book. And then because she's like, they don't understand. And I'm like, you can't argue with them. You can't change what they know. Yeah,
and remind, okay, for anybody who's got a trainer that they are paying money to go to and that they're arguing with their trainer about their nutrition, tell your trainer, shut your mouth or I'm going to fire you.
There you go.
It is not your trainer's job to try to push their nutrition philosophy on you. You are the one paying them.
All right. That's great. I'm going to tag my client. I'm going to share this with my client and give her those words to say. Be quiet before I fire you and hire somebody else that won't tell me what to eat.
Yep.
That's great. Well, thank you again for being here, Coach Bronson. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening now and in the future. And this has been wonderful. So I appreciate you being here.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
We'll see you all next time. That's it. Bye now.